boy. Recently, there's this game that is making a big buzz across the scene called Fall Guys, and we're going to build a PC for it. And this is just not any PC, since this is a new game. We're going to be using a new case. And our good friend on the Gold Coast, Kevin, he got a container in. Now, word on the street is like, damn man, Kev, he got a container in, full cases and all this other stuff. And everyone's been buying up these infinity mirror Gamemax cases, and I thought, well, you know one thing, if you can't beat them, join them. So we got this case for 115 Aussie dollars. And in the US, you can actually get it for, I think, 90 USD, so it's not that bad priced, considering it's got this RGB mirror effect on the front of the PC. Though that aside, we've got the other components here. Of course, a used banger. We're gonna be putting this PC together for as cheap as possible. And when we look at the specs that's required for this game, it really is ambiguous because this whole Steam requirements just says you need a 2 GB GTX 660 or an i5 or better. Now, if we look at an i5, do they mean like an i5 650? Because that's a really, really bad CPU. If you put that in, you'll probably be getting some big stuttering and stuff like that. Anyhow, we're going to be putting in an X5670, which is a 6-core, 12-threaded Xeon, and these go for around 15 bucks, readily available on good old AliExpress. The other good news is I paid 100 Aussie dollars for my X58 motherboard and 12 gigabytes of RAM, but even then you can get X58 boards on AliExpress that are really cheap, as well as ECC registered DDR3 memory. So you can pretty much get the same configurations as I'm doing here for pretty similar prices. But let's take a look at all those prices and then build this thing and see how it looks and of course how it performs.
If you want to cop yourself a legit Windows 10 Pro OEM license, then today's video sponsor SCD Keys has you covered. For as little as 15 bucks, using the coupon code TYC, you can get yourself one of these keys instantly delivered, and they've even got PayPal. Links in description below.
So here's our infinity mirror build, aka the Gamemax Abyss, finished in all its glory. And I gotta say, it is definitely a different look to all the other cases out there at the moment. For the price, it's not too shabby. I mean, it was very easy to build in, but we've got to now download our Fall Guys game, which is only around 4 gigabytes, so it's very quick to download, unlike Call of Duty Warzone, for example, which is around 250 gigabytes nowadays. So very quick to download this game. We should be up and running in no time, but I still do want to install Call of Duty Warzone for you guys because I want to see how it runs, and that's one of the most important games when you're trying to flip a PC after you're done with it. However, that being said, I'm going to run 2 sets of benchmarks here today. One which is stock, so if you're buying, say, an AliExpress motherboard, you generally don't have overclocking on a lot of those boards. So this numbers that I'm running for you will give you an idea of the performance you'll get with this setup. So if you do come into an X58 board like the one we're using here today, the Gigabyte, then you can see how much extra performance you can extract out of this thing. Though, let's jump into those games. Problems, and more problems. But we'll start off with the good stuff first, because the problem list in today's video is both software and hardware based. But anyway, Fall Guys, if you guys want to run this game, the good news is is that it'll run on a potato. Like that i5 650 joke that we made in the intro might just be fine for this game. I'm guessing an i5 750 would run it absolutely fine, and a GTX 750 or maybe a 7850 from way back in the day will be fine for getting smooth 60 FPS with this game. Now the thing is, it looks like Fall Guys is hard capped at 60 FPS. Even with VSync off, I tried changing some settings, but that's the max FPS I could get out of it, so it doesn't really matter if you overclock your system or not, you're pretty much bound to 60 FPS. However, FPS aside, this game is quite a bit of fun. You go through round robins, and then basically it averages out that if you're good at this game, you're gonna get through and win. Me playing for the first time, I was really just kind of getting used to it. I didn't know what to do, especially in some of the events. But that being said, I did get the hang of it and I started making it through and progressing a little bit. Though this is where the problems start to creep in for Fall Guys, and that is the server issue. So I'm based in Australia, and on my IP address from Australia, I could not play this game. It just would not let me get into a match lobby and meet up with 59 other contestants, where there's 60 for starting out. And then I decided to go into Steam, change the server, download server to New York in America. That didn't work. And I was waiting for like a good 2 hours just trying to get a game. I just bought this game. Then I thought, well, I spoke to some people on the Discord, they said there's only servers in Europe and US at the moment. And I'm thinking to myself, well, what's the chances I log onto a VPN in the US and then it starts matching me up to a lobby? And so I went on a VPN and based myself in Seattle, and then lo and behold, I was now matchmaking pretty much instantly. So this presents, in my opinion, a pretty big problem. That's if they are blocking out IPs in Australia at the moment, because they're selling the game in Australia. So if you're gonna block my IP from Australia from playing the game, why are you selling this game to me? It's a pretty big issue where I'm thinking about getting a refund, because me going to a VPN in Seattle, that's giving me a lot of like lag in the process and making the game not as enjoyable as it should be. So there's the big problem with Fall Guys at the moment. I know they'll fix the servers in time, but being transparent about this thing is much better than me finding out that I can log into a VPN and then play the game internationally. I think that, I mean, I don't even know, like, it might even be borderline illegal in Australia to do that, or anti-consumer. I mean, to the makers of Fall Guys, I would encourage you guys to fix this, or at least stop selling the game in Australia if we can't play it. And you're probably thinking, well, what's the reason for them to block out the IP in Australia? And that's just simply bandwidth. International bandwidth costs a lot more than local bandwidth. Anyway, moving on to Call of Duty Warzone. This is a game that I pretty much benchmark a lot now. The reason being, of course, when you go to flip a PC, a lot of people want to know, can it play Call of Duty Warzone? And I'm happy to say that it does play it at 75 average FPS on low settings at 1080p with 100% screen resolution. The 1% and 0.1% lows were also really well controlled, and then overclocking the GPU, I managed to squeeze out an extra average 4 FPS, with 1% and 0.1% lows also being pretty much the same. And this was with the CPU running at pretty much 3.1 gigahertz on all cores, all threads. So the X5670 is pretty good to go. Even if you go on AliExpress and get a cheaper 1 and Z motherboard, you should be having no problems whatsoever. Power consumption of this build wasn't too shabby either, using around 230 watts with the GPU overclock really not making that much of a difference, and then about 110 watts on idle. Though here's where the second problem of this build and today's video comes into play, and that is the Gigabyte X58 USB 3 motherboard. It just would not accept an overclock, and I've seen this once with a Gigabyte. Well, I've actually seen it a couple times on different Gigabyte motherboards where they just refuse to lock in overclocks. And then basically as I'm booting up the PC, I'll get this recovering lost DRAM error, and the PC then just pretty much only seems to want to work on default settings. So I tried updating the BIOS, that didn't work. The only thing after that is to change RAM models. And the most important part with this motherboard and the problems like this, I've been down this road before, you can spend a whole day and still end up at the same result that we've got here today. And you've wasted all that time and had all that frustration put on yourself needlessly. This PC as it stands is working absolutely fine. The temperatures are pretty good, especially on the CPU side, with that big cooler and the zip-tied fan, and the GPU temperatures were going around 70 degrees, both out of the box and on the overclocks. So in the end, with this PC, things ended up working out okay. And the infinity mirror case, do let us know in the comments section below what you think of this case. Do you think it's good for the money? I'm personally, it's one of those things that pops up and you're like, wow, this looks good. But I think I still prefer the bright ring LED fans. They're gonna be hard to beat. I mean, the infinity mirror is all nice and all that, but it kind of gives off this, like, I don't know, it's like you're mixing makeup and PC cases together. It's kind of like some makeup brand has decided to make a PC case. That's how I feel about it. Even though this case feels of pretty good quality, I've tried some other Gamemax cases and they're kind of hit or miss. This one is pretty good. The SATA connection at the back that connects to the RGB board, that is a real big mystery. You are literally just plugging in a SATA cable to a PCB board. And the weirdest thing is you can plug it in both ways and it works fine. Mind blown. And with all that out of the way, if you guys enjoyed today's Fall Guys gaming PC, then be sure to hit that like button for us. Also let us know in the comments section below what you think of the game, what you think of the build. Love reading your thoughts and opinions as always. Just like this question of the day here, which comes from James T. Well, it's actually not a question, but it's a pretty important thing which I don't want to make a video on because sort of a lot of people don't really care too much, but a lot of you guys do care. But anyway, it goes along the lines like this. Brian, Facebook recently implemented an ad review system and I've been getting flagged a lot for selling gaming HP Dell OEMs. Could you look into this, as it's been quite frustrating having my ads taken down with no explanation? The only thing I can think of, lately there seems to be this rumor going around with Facebook Marketplace that if you use the same picture on different ads, it will automatically take it down. Because essentially it thinks you're spamming the system. So my recommendation would be take different photos for different ads. Every ad here on in, try make a unique photo, and you can even try using a different background and see if that helps. Another thing as well, if your account has been flagged, you may have to give your account a cooldown. I have experienced this in the past where I was doing a stupid listing and I realized after the fact that I'd made a lot of mistakes. Anyhow, I'll put a video up here for you guys if you want to check that out. And with all that aside, if you stayed this far and you're enjoying that Tech Yes content and you want to see it the moment it drops, sub button's down there, ring that bell, and I'll catch you in another tech video very soon. Peace out for now. Bye.